concentrating in Middle East studies, I'm dying to ask you an international affairs question, but actually, as a former Marine Corps officer, I have a question for you on leadership. You mentioned earlier the issue of using fear to unify a nation, and that has been a major concern for me over the past several years. How do you think you'll be able to unify within the United States as president, both between policymakers, Congress, the American people, to actually move forward?
Okay, I think I need a little, I didn't hear all the words. So how would I handle the problem of moving away from an empire?
Basically, no, to unify the American people.
Oh, bringing the people to agree to this.
Unify policymakers and to move forward, not using kind of fear to unify, but a proactive kind of approach.
That really is the challenge, because give me the benefit of the doubt that I have the right answer, but it doesn't mean anything if there isn't a consensus. If there's no consensus, these ideas won't work. So the American people have to endorse it, agree with it, and understand it. And members of Congress would have to, and that would depend on an individual who would have to convince them that it's in our best interest to do so. And that would be the big challenge. I think my reluctance to enter this race was that not too many people would be interested in what I'm talking about. The fact that there's a lot more people than I ever dreamed of means that there's a fertile field out there. And it's growing by leaps and bounds, because a lot of people hadn't heard this, and they'll say, yeah, I had never heard of Mark and Reprisal. How do you spell that? And and so they're getting interested, and I think that when they realize it's in their self-interest, they will join us. And I believe this is an issue that you can bring right and left together. Our group coming together are not just Republicans. There's a certain amount of Republicans. I wish there were more. But there's a lot of independents. There's a lot of Democrats. And there's a lot of people who have never been anything, because it makes a whole lot of sense. So I think that we can bring people together. In Congress, there's the element of the old right, which I sort of come from, that we're opposed to the war and are strongly opposed to the war now. But there's a lot on the left that I work with very closely. But my biggest challenge is to revitalize the interest of the conservatives to feel comfortable that they don't have to be warmongers, in order to be conservatives. Conservatives used to be like Senator Robert Taft, didn't even want to be in NATO. He didn't want entangling alliances. He knew the history. He knew the founders. So there's a strong principles found in the old right tradition that come together with the left position currently. So things get shifted, and I think it's very dangerous for a politician to talk about Democrats are left-wingers and Republicans are conservatives. We have to deal with the issues, and I can't totally answer your question other than the fact that I think on this issue, with an individual fully explaining this, people will realize it's in their best interest, because I am so convinced that if our goal in life is to have peace and prosperity, this is the way to go. And if you have to reject the control by the special interests, the military-industrial complex, and all those other interests that say we have to be over there to spread democracy and all those things, I think when they hear that information, I don't think it's very hard to bring the majority together on it.
You spoke very poignantly of the invasion of Iraq in 2003 as kind of a watershed event in our foreign policy, with perhaps unenvisionable consequences for generations. Can you speak to the invasion of spring of 1999 in Serbia as perhaps the real watershed, as far as an unprovoked, premeditated invasion of a sovereign country that we recognize as being an independent country? And what are the consequences? And how do are those two twins?
I think so. They're close. I think this one was a little bit more deliberate with with full knowledge, invasion, and occupation. But you're right. I think in principle, they're very, very close. But there was a war going on there, and we picked sides and we went in. But you could argue, Truman might have been the real instigator, because he went in, under a UN resolution, and there was no really big discussion at the time. But you could use 1953, or you could use all the times of what we've done secretly with our CIA. A lot of those contribute. I use the invasion mainly because it was so deliberate and so confrontational, in that preemptive war is good. It's